Group home riches. We got another good one for you today. We're going to be talking about the different types of group homes. I think this is really important to go over and for you to know because I don't think a lot of people realize how many different group homes that you can possibly start. I think people know about one or two different ones and they forget how many are just out there. So let's get right into it. So first we have adult homes for able-bodied people. Um, the key here with the able-bodied is just understanding what this is people who they don't have any mental health issues. They don't have any physical deformalities. They don't have any addictions or anything like that. Their main thing is they have a big income problem. Maybe they've been homeless for a little bit. They might have a job now, but they just can't afford to pay a rent that is going to be, $1,500 a month. So they need something a lot cheaper than that at a third of the price. And, they may not have a car, so they need help getting food and that type of stuff. So group homes make a lot of sense for them. Now, this is one of the easiest populations to start with, and I always encourage people to do so because of the fact that, there's just not a lot of layers or things that you have to worry about. It's simply people who just need a place to stay, and they're usually pleasant to get along with, and they're thankful for an opportunity to have a roof over their head to get back on their feet. So now you have an adult home for movement impaired, and I'm separating this from disabled for a reason. The movement impaired considers people who may have lost a limb, or they're in a wheelchair, or anything like that. But like mentally, they are perfectly fine. But they just had an accident, some freak accident happened, and because of that, they do get disability help, but they aren't, from a standpoint of living together, they really just need a place to stay, and they actually enjoy being around people similar to them and that type of thing. But this isn't. This is a lot easier of a house to run compared to a house that is for disabled people. And the other key here is just remembering that if you are going to do this home, you have to be very cautious, very aware of the fact that your house has to be up to code in terms of, wheelchair access and those type of things. Now, a disability home, this category I would put for people who are mentally handicapped, mentally disabled, or have such a physical handicap that there is a lot of assistance and help that is needed. Like if someone is, they weigh a lot and they can't really move because of that and need special beds and equipment to help them, that might be the type of thing that fits into disability home. But a lot of it's going to end up being mental disabilities that you end up dealing with in this category. Foster homes, people. This is for young people under the age of 18 who do not have parents for whatever reason, or maybe they were taken away from their parents. But the foster system, as anyone knows, is brutal on kids to move from home to home to home to home, and so being a group home, if you're gonna deal with this category, you definitely have to be very understanding and really understand what a lot of these kids go through on a daily basis, and have that empathy for them. Then adolescent homes are on the end of people, of children under the age, so people under the age of 18 who have behavioral issues, have been getting in trouble a lot. They will often be in adolescent homes, and foster homes and adolescent homes end up often being seen as one, because a lot of kids that are in foster homes end up having issues and end up being on the adolescent side as well. But with these homes, they're a little bit more complicated because you're going to need a little bit more security because it's already kids, but then you have to watch them and make sure that they're doing things the right way. Then youth homes now are for children who are coming from, really tough family situations where maybe there's abuse in the home, or a lot of times this can be a quicker. They could just be moved from the home for maybe a week so the police can figure out what's going on. There's a lot of scenarios here with the youth homes, but again, the youth home, the adolescent home, and the foster home can be mixed into one in a sense, but because the lines really kind of blur between when someone is in each one. But I still like to separate them so you just understand like how much you can really niche down and find an exact tenant that you want to work with. Then you have substance abuse. Obviously, addicted to drugs is going to get you on in this area. And again, it's a lot easier to deal with this population if you have experience. If you have a family member that like abused drugs, or maybe you did yourself at one point, because you're dealing with people who will always think rationally. They will often you often don't know what you're going to get exactly, so you really have to be prepared for the type of people you're going to be dealing with. And again, the best thing you can do if you do want to start one of these is spend as much time around people who are going through this as possible, so you can really understand what they're thinking like and how they operate. Sober homes, I know this could fall under substance abuse because, abusing alcohol is a substance abuse, but sober homes, there's so many more alcoholics that they kind of really stand out on their own. The big thing with having a sober home, obviously, you can't have any alcohol around, so you got to make sure you're doing that. But this is definitely a little bit tougher of a category because, the aggression, like a lot of drugs can kind of mellow you out and kind of make the pain go away, and drinking does also, but drinking can also bring about a different type of rage in people that you have to be very aware of if, depending on when you're getting people and if they're sticking to what they should be, because, you'll have the odd case where, you have a sober home and someone still finds a way to get alcohol in, and the problem is with that is because the whole house is dealing with the same thing. If one person gets it, they could corrupt other people and cause a lot of problems. And then you have transitional homes. And transitional homes are for people who are not fully ready to go back to their permanent residence yet, but they need to come out of the hospital and it's probably costing too much for them to stay there. So let's say someone did have a major surgery, or they are in a position where they still need kind of some nurse care, but maybe their house is too far away or whatever the case is. There's a bunch of different reasons someone can be in a transitional home, but I don't think, because of how temporary these homes can be, I usually advise against doing these unless for whatever reason, there's a huge demand in your neighborhood, in your community for these transitional homes. I would avoid them. But the reentry home is a little bit different. Reentry home is for people coming out of prison and getting familiar again with society. And a lot of times when people are in prison, to leave, they actually need to give a physical address, and a lot of them don't have one to give. So that's why they end up having to stay in prison, because they have nowhere to actually live when they come out. So the reentry homes now give them a physical address they can have, and a place where they can live and kind of get back on their feet again, and an address they can get phone calls for if they get a job or anything like that. So it's important that you also understand that dealing with this population, you're dealing with people who have been in prison for, a period of time. So they could be institutionalized to some degree where they're so used to being in prison, you don't really know what you're going to get. So you just have to keep your eyes open when you're doing a reentry home. Then there's like widow homes. And, this just kind of shows the creativity of all the different types of homes that can be created. But with a widow home, think about it like this. You have people, you have women, mostly women, who they, were married for years, their husband dies, and maybe they didn't save up nearly enough of what they needed to for retirement, which is what a lot of people are going through. So they're gonna need a place to live, and often they're lonely. So they're lonely. They don't have enough money to last out how long they think they'll live. So then they get in a home with a bunch of other widows, and they can share obviously similar experiences. They understand each other, but then they're gonna be able to save money so that that money can go further for them. And then you have senior homes, but you have limited care senior homes. And what I want you to think of these as is a limited care senior home is for an adult that actually, like a senior citizen that does not need a lot of help. So I think when a lot of people think of senior care, they think of like the homes where, like, they have someone bathe them, they have someone like feed them, they have someone pretty much do everything for them until the day they die. That's one part of the equation, but there's tons of senior citizens who are perfectly good. They can get up on their own. They can do what they need to do on their own. But living in a group home is still advantageous for them because, again, their money can go far further for them. And they, if they do have an issue, say they fall down or something like that, there are other people around to actually help them out. And that goes a long way in, just helping you not be paranoid. And then there's just a normal senior care home, which again is the typical care living center that I was just talking about. The differences with these, though, is that they are really expensive. Like, you can make a lot because that's why a lot of them charge so much money per month. But it's a lot of manpower. Like, you need to have a big building. A lot of them want to be in just one room because or one person in the room because they're having, someone come and bathe them and do all that stuff for them. They don't want to have 4 other people in there with them. You got to have, all the prescription drugs and all the equipment needed in there and the special beds. And there's so much going on in these places that these are definitely for more experienced group homeowners. So, I would say even above, 10 homes, then you can look into going the senior care route. But I would keep that away from your first 10 at the very minimum.